Welcome to another episode of In the Shop with Dad.
Today we're going to be building a 3D tic-tac-toe board.
Okay, so all we're going to need is a saw and a drill for this project. So if you have a bench with a clamp, you can clamp up the wood in there, or a miter saw, you can chop it, no problem. But if you don't have any of those power tools, you can just make yourself a little jig, clamp to a bench somewhere. We just put a little piece of wood into 2x6 to give us a stop. And then we put this in our little workbench that we use every time. We love this workbench. So we're going to mark off 1.5 inches because the blocks are 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So we mark 1.5 inches. You want to get the dowel? All right. So now we put our dowel in here. Now we can clamp that in place. You can clamp it or hold it. Now we have the jig set up. We already have a cut in it, so Noah can go ahead and cut the rest. And there's our block. There you go. After you cut all your 1.5 inch circles, we're going to go ahead and mark off the center, and we're going to drill a hole out. We're going to be using 1/2 inch dowels for the board, so we want to drill these out about 9/16 so they slide up and down easily. You might not have a 9/16 bit. We'll leave a link in the description below for you. But we'll go ahead and mark the center off, and then Ella's going to drill them out. We'll just hit it with the center punch, get the drill bit started.
First, we're going to drill a pilot hole with a small bit. Now we're going to drill a 9/16 hole.
So now we're going to use our 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch block. We're going to cut some pieces and then drill the holes out for our blocks. If you're going to use a table saw to do this, you can bevel the table saw and rip your bevel angles first before you chop all the blocks. But if you're going to do them all by hand, then we'll just cut them, and then we'll use a handsaw to cut the V notches for the X's. So we'll use our little stop again, put it there, and we clamp it in place. Okay, so same thing, we're going to drill a pilot hole first, and then we'll drill with our 9/16. Okay. We went all the way through. You got it. We went all the way through. And there's our X's marked off. It's just a little piece of 1/4 inch plywood that we just double stick taped together to get the proper angle that we wanted. And then we're going to go and we're going to hand cut all of these. You can do it by hand with a coping saw or a bandsaw if you have one, or a scroll saw if you have one, whatever you have available. You can use a coping saw like this and cut them by hand. So there we go. Now we just have to do that for all the other pieces. Much easier with a table saw or a bandsaw or a scroll saw. Okay, so now we're gonna make the dowels. Easiest thing to do is just buy some 1/2 inch dowels at the store, and you can buy the 1.5 inch dowel at the store too that we cut. We have the directions on our website for you guys to download. So now we're just going to cut these to length and just sand the tops, and then we'll go ahead and cut the base and drill the holes in it, so then we can mount the dowels in the base and then that's about it. We made these dowels at home, and I can show you how to make a doweling jig if you want on the table saw. I prefer to do these on the table saw. It seems to work out the easiest for me. But if you want to see that, just leave a comment down below, and we'll do a video on how to make your own dowels on the table saw with a doweling jig. So we have a scrap piece of pine, 3/4 laying around, we're going to use for the base. So Noah's going to go ahead and cut it so it's square, and then we'll drill the holes in it and we'll mount our dowels. Okay, so we're going to mark it off and drill our holes. We're going to drill our 1/2-inch hole with our Forstner Bit. We'll leave a link in the description below. So there's our hole, and we're going to glue our dowel in there. We'll glue all of our dowels in, and that'll be our base. We'll clean it up and sand it all up. Okay, so we got them all glued up overnight. Just make sure they're nice and straight when you glue them up and let them sit overnight. And then I'm going to grab the X's and O's. There you go.
Alright, you guys ready to play 3D tic-tac-toe? Yep.